So, imagine this. You're one of the Buddha's most trusted disciples, sitting right there with your teacher, and he starts to tell you about a really difficult vision he's had of the future. This isn't just any lesson, it's an urgent private warning. We're going to dive into this profound prophecy that was given to the elder Mahakashyapa.
Defiled by the conduct of thieves. Wow. Just let that hang in the air for a second. These are the Buddha's own words, a really stark and kind of shocking way to open. And he's not talking about your average criminals here. No, he's talking about something far more insidious, a corruption coming from inside the very heart of his own teaching.
You know, in this explainer, we're basically getting to listen in on a really critical moment. The Buddha is entrusting Mahakashyapa, who is known for being a model of discipline, with this vision of what's coming. This is, for all intents and purposes, a survival guide for how to protect the true Dharma, the real path, when the world seems hell-bent on tearing it apart.
Okay, so to really get the weight of this message, we first have to understand the foundation of the whole prophecy. What exactly is this future age that has the Buddha so worried? Well, it's called the Dharma ending age, and it's this time way off in the future when the clarity of the teachings, the Dharma, is supposed to fade. You know, like a distant echo that's getting harder and harder to hear. It's not that the path itself is flawed, it's that the signposts get all twisted around and the guides themselves kind of lose their way.
So what does this era actually look like? The Buddha gives Kashyapa some really specific and, frankly, pretty disturbing signs to watch out for. He basically describes a world that's been turned completely upside down.
As you can see here, it's like all the values get inverted. People who are gentle, they're seen as weak, but the corrupt and aggressive types, they gain power and influence. And anyone genuinely trying to practice gets attacked for it. But the real core of the problem, and he really highlights this, is an internal decay. The very people who are supposed to be guardians of the teaching get attached to worldly stuff. And they start preaching something that sounds right, a similar teaching, but it's a counterfeit. It's a dead end.
Now let's see how this builds. The Buddha goes into even more detail, telling Kashyapa about the behavior of these false practitioners, like what's really driving them and how can you spot them.
It all comes down to this. Their spiritual practice is just a front. The real motivation isn't enlightenment, it's all about material gain. The sutra is absolutely unflinching on this point. They use fancy words and flattery not to help people, but to get offerings, to get nice food and drinks. The sacred becomes just another tool for getting worldly stuff.
What's just incredible here is how specific the Buddha gets. I mean, he is painting a crystal clear picture for Kashyapa. These people are obsessed with their social status, with fine clothes, with good food. Deception is their main tool. And look closely at that last point because it's so important. They actively slander the deepest teachings on emptiness. Why? Because that very truth, that all things lack a fixed independent self, is a direct threat to their ego and their whole materialistic game.
And this slide, wow, it just lays out the two paths, the stark choice in that age. Just look at this contrast. On one side, you've got the false practitioner, all tangled up in the world, chasing fame and comfort. And on the other side, the true practitioner, who is literally walking in the opposite direction, abandoning gain, wearing simple robes, looking for solitude, and taking insults without fighting back. And that final line says it all, doesn't it? One fears emptiness, the other draws near to it. That is the absolute heart of the matter.
So, okay, with all this darkness and confusion, is there any hope? Oh yeah, absolutely. The Buddha doesn't just lay out the problem, he gives Kashyapa a very clear, even if it's a very challenging, solution. A path for those who are truly sincere.
This path is kind of like a hero's journey, you know? But it's not about fighting some battle out there. It's about a radical, hardcore commitment to inner purity and simplicity. It's a path that's defined by letting go in a world that is completely obsessed with grasping and holding on.
And here it is, basically a 5-step guide for the true seeker. You can see right away how each step is a direct antidote to the corruptions we just talked about. Instead of chasing offerings, you abandon them. Instead of fine clothes, you wear literal rags. Instead of networking in people's homes, you seek solitude. Instead of bad-mouthing others, you patiently take it when it's aimed at you. And then it all leads to that final step. You embrace the very teaching the others are terrified of, the Dharma of emptiness.
So what happens to these rare people who walk such a difficult path? Are all their efforts just for nothing? Not at all. The Buddha reveals their profound destiny, and this is where the prophecy turns toward this really inspiring future. In an age when everything is decaying, these practitioners become the living, breathing embodiment of the Dharma. They aren't just practicing for themselves. By sticking to this tough standard, they are actively keeping the teaching alive for generations to come. They become these unshakable pillars holding up the entire fortress of truth.
I mean, what an incredible title, a protector of the fortress of Dharma. The Buddha is saying that their struggle in this life literally transforms them into a guardian in the next. Their perseverance earns them this crucial role in making sure the path itself survives.
And here it is. This is the ultimate assurance. The Buddha makes a direct personal promise. He says he will personally entrust these steadfast practitioners to the next Buddha, Maitreya. Can you imagine the weight of that? Their efforts are seen, they're known, and they are personally handed over to the future of the Dharma itself.
So their reward isn't something worldly. It's the ultimate spiritual payoff. After going through so much in such a difficult time, they are guaranteed to meet the next Buddha, Maitreya, and to be there in his very first teaching assembly. That's where they'll quickly finish their path to enlightenment. All that hardship becomes their ticket, right to the front of the line.
And that leaves us with a pretty powerful question, doesn't it? Because this isn't just some ancient story for Kashyapa. It's a mirror for us. In a world that is just full of spiritual noise and commercialism, how do we tell the difference between a similar path and the real thing? And maybe more importantly, what does it mean for us right here and now to be protectors of that fortress of Dharma? That's the question this ancient prophecy asks us to think about today.